Thanks to LG for sponsoring this video. If you're watching this video on a flagship smartphone, chances are it's got an OLED display in it. And we're told that it's better, but what does it really mean? So the first time I saw an OLED TV was at CES, and obviously that's like a kind of ideal situation, but the difference was really like staggering. My first thought was, the difference in the picture was kind of like the first time I saw an HD picture. It looked really apparent, and all my analogies and stories come back to sports. But when I watched a football game for the first time on an HD TV and I could see the blades of grass, it was that staggering to sort of see OLED and to actually see black and not just see kind of a dark shade of gray that I've been used to on a TV set. It's probably not a spoiler or a surprise, LG Display makes some of the best OLED displays on the planet. In fact, they're so good they make them for other manufacturers even. So they invited us actually to go up to San Francisco, and I do want to give them a big thank you for sponsoring this video, to compare how an OLED TV compares against the flagship QLED and LED and LCD TVs that are out on the market. People generally don't buy TVs that often. And certainly you're not looking at two TV sets next to each other all the time. You order one on Amazon, you go to Best Buy and you pick up your set and you're done for a few years. But if you see the technologies side by side, if you see them up on a wall, you can notice the difference that you wouldn't necessarily notice if you were just watching your set at home. What OLED essentially is, it stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, and what that boils down to is each pixel on the panel is individually controlled. It can be turned on or off, and the off is where you get to see those true black levels. So you're looking at actual black. So Game of Thrones just ended, but if you saw the Battle of Winterfell, or maybe you didn't see the Battle of Winterfell because it was so dark, that's an instance where having an OLED TV would have made a tangible difference for what you can see. If to your eyes, you couldn't see the zombies, you couldn't see the battle going on, it was because of backlighting issues and you weren't getting the true black that the creators kind of wanted you to see in that battle. That's sort of one example where OLED really starts to shine. If you're watching movies with true black, you're watching like Star Wars, you're watching anything that sort of you need those true black levels, it makes a tremendous difference in the picture. And also because you don't have sort of layer on layer on layer on layer on layer like you need with an LCD set, you can get these displays crazy thin. I mean, I'm sure you've seen these OLED displays that look like, almost like sheets of paper stacked on each other. They are so thin, and you can do more with those displays, and they could be bent, they could be curved. You can do a lot more with an OLED display than you can with anything that needs a backlight. So you've got a TV up on your wall, you probably got a couch you're sitting on. Another area that's important is viewing angles. You're not always sitting right in the sweet spot of your TV, or your friends or family are sitting around you. The viewing angles on OLED TVs are also really good. I mean, you can sit really far off to the side and still see the true to color picture. And also because those black levels are, again, so black, it makes the colors pop even more by contrast. If you hold a black piece of paper up and a bright red piece of paper up, you can see the difference. The red starts to pop more than if you took that black sheet away, and that's kind of one of the benefits you get with an OLED set. So LCD technology's been around for a while. The pixels on an LCD screen can't light themselves up individually. They need a light source. So you'll see sometimes on lower end TVs, edge lighting around the side. It's really apparent if you're looking at something that's dark, you can almost see a border where the light source is. And on higher end LCD TVs, that lighting can happen on a smaller scale in grids or matrices, and they'll light up as something is moving across the screen. And in most cases, that can look fine, but where you can start to see a difference is, again, back to those black levels. You can see a ghosting, you can see trails that start to happen as you are moving across the set. No matter what marketing term you hear, whether it's LED, LCD, QLED, quantum dot, it's all some variation of LCD technology. Those pixels need a light source, and all it's changing is how those pixels are being lit up and what colors are being used to light up those pixels. So obviously I watch a lot of sports, I like action movies, so being able to watch a picture without ghosting is super important. But again, you're not always thinking about your TV technology, and you don't really notice it until you see them side by side. So LG Display had us come out to San Francisco to see both flagship sets and both flagship technologies on display to see what they could do. It was medical themed. It wasn't that they were using the OLED tech for anything medical. It was just sort of a theme to show off the tech. So the first thing that we saw was kind of a simulated eye test. And they were using the latest flagship 4K OLED panel and comparing that to the latest 8K LCD display. And it was a black background. They put letters and shapes up. And as they sort of faded away and came out, you could clearly see a difference between the picture. So as we saw these sort of letters and symbols on a black background, they would go at varying levels of brightness. And at that point, you could clearly see the difference between the technologies. Even if they didn't say, this one's OLED and that one's QLED, it would be very apparent which one was which. The second area was again kind of an eye test, but it was showing actual moving images. And both images that were being shown, they showed us, was coming from the exact same source. It wasn't like gamed to make one look better than the other. And I insisted that I check to see that both sources were exactly the same. But you could see a difference. The ocean looked blue versus the ocean looking purple. And instead of Pandora, I don't remember ever seeing a purple looking ocean. When you saw the sort of green firefly go through the back area, you could see more. That was sort of where that Game of Thrones thing came up again. I could see more background with the OLED TV than I could with the QLED. It just looked almost gray, whereas on the OLED, it actually looked black. Because OLED TVs can be way thinner, you could do a lot more with them. So we've seen this technology in the past. Essentially what manufacturers are doing, they're putting an exciter on the back. You actually get to use the whole display as a speaker, which is awesome. And it wasn't just the whole TV as a speaker, it was actually localized. So I'm looking at a TV set, or in this case facing away, I could tell where the audio was coming from. It was localized. So that would translate to if you're watching a movie and someone's talking on the left side of the screen, that audio is gonna come from the left side of the screen, and same thing for the right, without having actual speakers there. It's using the whole display. That was really cool to see. But what I always tell my kids is never touch daddy's TV, but they let me actually touch this one, and you could feel the display vibrating. And it was so localized, you could feel it when I was on the left side. I put my finger up on the right, I couldn't feel it there. And as sort of the things were moving around, you could track how that was going. That's another way that you can sort of have a benefit with OLED tech. Even if you use a sound bar or you set up a surround sound system and you never use that, at least you can appreciate a smaller set is generally just gonna look better up on your wall or on a stand. So again, I wanna give a big thank you to LG Displays for sponsoring this video, but them sponsoring the video doesn't change the difference in the technology. OLED versus LCD, and like in the real world, that O matters. And seeing the sets side by side and the same image on both sets, it was very clear which technology gives you a better overall picture. So whenever it is you're looking to get a new TV set, you owe it to yourself to at least check out one of the awesome OLED options available.